My archenemy, Willow Lu, the Lu family's heiress, openly poached my family's client during a business meeting. But instead of getting angry, I did the opposite. I went down on one knee and proposed to her in front of everyone. As expected, Willow and everyone present were left frozen on the spot. After all, my family and the Lius have been bitter enemies throughout the city, and Willow and I are about the same age and grew up together. Since childhood I was raised never to lose to her. Yet in reality Willow has always outshone me in every field. It wasn't until later that I unexpectedly discovered she had been secretly in love with me for years. That's when a perfect revenge plan quietly took shape in my mind. If I can't beat her in the marketplace, then I'll change the battlefield. Chapter 1: The Awakening of a Weakling with a Power Level of 5. My name is George Wang, 25 years old, heir of the Wang Group. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? Unfortunately, the person sitting across from me is Willow Lu, the heiress of the Lu Corporation. My nemesis, my nightmare, the biggest stumbling block in my entire life. At this moment, she's crossing her legs elegantly, tapping her scarlet-painted fingernails on the table, and pointing the tip of her high heel suspiciously close to my crotch. I instinctively squeeze my legs together. Willow parts her red lips slightly. George, your company's market share dropped another 3 points last quarter. My dad said the men in your Wang family keep getting worse with each generation. Looks like he's right. A few chuckles echo around the meeting room, from our own executives. Traitors, every single one of them. I clench my fists so hard that my knuckles turn white. And to make things worse, that woman is wearing a low-cut black dress today, the whiteness of her skin dazzling under the lights. This is definitely a tactic, a seductive distraction strategy. Director Lu, I force a smile. Market fluctuations are perfectly normal. Besides, our new product development investment, higher costs, lower output. Willow cuts me off, pulling a report from her folder and tossing it at me. Here's the comparative data. Oh, and by the way, your technical director joined us last week. What? I shoot up from my chair, the screech of its legs slicing through the silence. Marco, the guy I'd hired with triple salary. Sit down, George. My father's voice booms from the head of the table. You look like a damn rooster with ruffled feathers. Willow's lips curl into a victorious smile. Even her smile is like a knife, sharp, precise, stabbing straight into my chest. When the meeting finally ends, I head straight to the rooftop for a smoke. 3 cigarettes later, my lungs are burning, but my head's finally clear. This feud goes way back, to my grandfather's time. Both the Wang and Lu families were local tycoons, once on good terms, until one day, during a land auction, my grandfather pulled some tricks and snatched a prime lot the Lius had set their sights on. From that day, a grudge was born, and 3 generations of rivalry became our family tradition. In my generation, Willow Lu is 2 years older than me, the ultimate, perfect daughter next door. If I ranked second in exams, she was first. If I passed piano level 8, she went professional. When I got into a top Chinese university, she was directly admitted to the Ivy League. Now we both run our family businesses, and she still keeps me under her heel. Sir, the chairman wants to see you in his office. My secretary's voice pulls me out of my thoughts. I stub out my cigarette, my heart sinking. Great, another scolding incoming. Sure enough, the moment I step inside, my father's face is thunderous. Do you have any idea how embarrassing that was? He shouts, slamming the table. You got humiliated by that girl in front of all the senior executives. I look down, fiddling with my cufflinks, muttering, she caught me off guard. I didn't know Marco had jumped ship, didn't know. My father's forehead veins bulge. You should have known. There's a negotiation with the Lu family next Monday. Screw it up again, and I'll send you to the African branch to dig mines. As I leave the office, I bump into my mom. She hands me a cup of honey water. Don't blame your dad, she says gently. The Lius have stolen several of our biggest clients lately. The board's putting him under a lot of pressure. I gulp the honey water down in one go, sweet on the tongue, bitter in the heart. Just like my life, shiny on the outside, miserable inside. Back home, I throw myself onto the sofa and open my phone's gallery. Don't get me wrong, I'm not some creep. These are evidences of Willow's evil deeds, photos of her rolling her eyes during my speeches, screenshots of her award posts on social media, even a note she wrote to a teacher back in high school accusing me of cheating. Don't ask how I got it. My finger swipes to the latest photo, one I snapped secretly during today's meeting. She's holding the report midair, chin slightly lifted, that mocking smirk playing on her red lips. Damn it, even her nostrils look perfect. Damn it, I curse, throwing my phone onto the sofa. Just then, the TV's playing a historical drama. The male lead says to the heroine, if I can't defeat you, then I'll marry you, and tame you slowly at home. I jolt upright as if struck by lightning. Wait a second, that's brilliant. I grabbed my phone and called my best friend David. Hey, what do you think someone should do if they keep losing to the same person? Call the cops. David's groggy voice replies. Bro, It's 3 in the morning. Not fighting. I mean in everything. Work, life, even arguments. That's easy. He yawns. Marry her and prove your worth in bed. I freeze. Could this be what they call great minds think alike? The next morning I showed up at the family's breakfast meeting with dark circles under my eyes. The way everyone looked at me was like I was an endangered species. I have an idea. I set my coffee cup down. My voice was hoarse from staying up all night about how to deal with the Lius. The table went instantly silent. My dad's fried egg hung midair. I'm going to marry Willow. Puffed. My sister sprayed orange juice all over the table. My mom dropped her fork. My dad's egg finally landed, directly smeared onto his Hermes tie. Are you insane? My father asked, dabbing at his tie with a napkin. Do you know what our relationship with the Lius is like? Precisely because I know. We should arrange a marriage alliance. I pulled out the PPT I'd prepared overnight. First, a merger would push our combined market share past 40%. Second, the Lius' cash flow is shaky. They need capital fast. Third, I took a deep breath and delivered the killer point. Willow is 28, and her father is pressuring her to go on blind dates. Last week they set her up with a balding VC. She dumped red wine on his crotch on the spot. The family sat there dumbfounded. So, I closed my laptop. Instead of endless corporate warfare, why not turn the enemy into family? Besides, I flashed a wicked smile. Once she's my wife, I can suppress her however I like. After a long silence my grandfather slapped the table and laughed. Brilliant. I stole their land. And now my grandson will steal their granddaughter. This is true Wong family spirit. My dad's face contorted into something like constipation. You sure you can handle Willow? That girl isn't easy. Exactly because she's not easy. It'll be fun, right? I raised an eyebrow, suddenly excited about the plan. 3 days later, during a routine negotiation between the two families, I did something that left everyone's jaws on the floor. While Willow was using a PPT to show how her latest quarter crushed ours, I walked up and turned off her projector. George, she narrowed her eyes. The air around her turned dangerous. I dropped to one knee and opened a ring box. Willow, marry me. The collective gasp from the room sounded like a dozen vacuum cleaners powering down at once. Willow's face looked like someone had shoved a live cockroach in her mouth. What? I said. I raised my voice. Willow, let's get married. You can't get married otherwise. And I couldn't find a wife stronger than you. Rather than torment each other from the outside, let's torment each other to old age from the inside. Her perfect features began to contort. You're asking for death. Wait before you refuse. I stood and leaned in to whisper in her ear, loud enough for everyone to hear. I hear the Lius are strapped for cash. The bank won't lend for that West City project. Her body stiffened. If we ally through marriage, the Wongs can inject capital. I stepped back so the whole room could hear. And the bride price will include that plot of land you've been wanting. Willow's father's eyes lit up immediately. Ridiculous. Willow finally found her voice. You think I'd do it for money? Not for money. I cut her off and suddenly got serious. To end this boring feud. Besides, I lowered my voice. You secretly like me, don't you? In high school when I got hurt playing ball, who slipped ointment into my locker? Willow's face flamed. That was my ointment that was about to expire. Oh, I dragged out the syllable and kept going. And at that university startup contest, why did you underreport your project's profits? Don't think I don't know you were trying to let my rank be one above yours. Her composure began to crumble. I pressed the advantage. And last month, why did you quietly cancel the poaching of our supplier? Willow's lips trembled. She glanced around and realized everyone, even her father, was watching her expectantly. All right, she said suddenly, a smile curling at the edge of her mouth that sent a chill down my spine. I agree, but on one condition. Name it. After the wedding we live at my house. She smiled sweetly. My place is bigger, after all. And just like that, my nemesis and I were engaged. As we posed for the crowd with a phony hug, she hissed in my ear, George, you'll regret this. I tightened my arms around her and felt the slender curve of her waist, answering with a grin. Likewise, Your Highness. Walking out of the meeting room, my sister texted, Bro, are you serious? That's Willow. Do you even stand a chance? I replied, if I can't beat her, I'll marry her. Wait and see, who humiliates whom is still undecided. After sending that message I suddenly realized something. I might have just dug a massive hole for myself. But watching Willow storm away in her high heels, furious, I also thought, this hole actually looks kind of thrilling. After all, if you can't defeat the enemy, better to make them yours, right? Chapter 2, The Co-Living Battle begins. On the day we got our marriage certificate, Willow was dressed head to toe in black, like she was attending a funeral. I, on the other hand, wore a bright red tie, festive, radiant, looking every bit the proud groom. Well, technically, I was. Smiling so wide, Willow sneered outside the Civil Affairs Bureau. You'll be crying soon enough. How could I, darling? I wrapped an arm around her waist, the softness under my hand sending a jolt straight to my heart. A night with my lovely wife is worth 1,000 pieces of gold. She stepped down hard on my polished leather shoe with that damned stiletto heel of hers. Remove your filthy paw before I remove it for you. When we took the wedding photo, the photographer asked us to stand closer. Willow moved half a step my way. I yanked her straight into my arms. In the picture, I looked like a fox who'd just stolen a hen, while she rolled her eyes to the heavens. That photo could easily win Weirdest Marriage Photo of the Year at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Now go home. Pack your things. Willow ordered the moment we stepped outside. You'll move into my place before tonight. So eager. I raised an eyebrow. Can't wait for the wedding night. Huh? She opened her Range Rover door. Say one more word and you're sleeping in the garage. I zipped my mouth shut. A wise man knows when to surrender, especially when his wife's curves in a pencil skirt could make his throat go dry. Willow's apartment was in the most expensive complex downtown, a penthouse duplex, designed like a modern art museum, cold, minimalist, completely lifeless. You'll stay in the guest room, she said, pointing toward a tiny room under the stairs that looked more like a storage closet. I poked my head in. Holy hell, once you put a single bed in there, there'd be no space to turn around. Pretty sure the marriage law requires couples to live together properly, doesn't it? Then sue me. She kicked off her heels and walked barefoot across the marble floor. By the way, my dad's college buddy is a judge, and your dad's tax situation. The guest room is perfect, I said instantly. I love small spaces. Feels secure. Satisfied, she nodded and went upstairs, leaving me and my 2 suitcases staring at each other in despair. By the time I made the guest room barely habitable, it was already dark. My stomach was growling, so I went to the kitchen to find something to eat, only to discover the fridge contained nothing but bottled water and face masks. I yelled upstairs, "Do you live on photosynthesis or what?" No answer. I sighed and ordered takeout. 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Who told you to order takeout? Willow's voice appeared behind me like a ghost. I nearly dropped the spicy hot pot all over the floor. What else am I supposed to do? Drink your fancy mineral water for dinner? I shielded the takeout bag protectively. Don't tell me you have a "no food allowed" rule. She rolled her eyes, turned around, and headed upstairs. Just air out the smell when you're done. I hate greasy odors. I flipped her the finger behind her back and started wolfing down my food. Halfway through, my phone rang. It was my sister. Bro, big problem. She shrieked. Mom and Dad are coming to your place tomorrow with the Lou parents for a housewarming ceremony. What? I choked on a fishball, coughing violently. Tomorrow. Yeah. Mom just bought a bunch of crabs. She said she's cooking for everyone. My brain went blank. According to local custom, newlyweds have to host both sets of parents for a housewarming, basically an inspection plus a free meal. The problem? Willow and I were a fake couple held together with duct tape and sarcasm. Tomorrow, we were doomed. Just as I was stressing out, footsteps echoed from the stairs. Willow came down wearing a silk robe, damp hair cascading over her shoulders, clearly fresh from a shower. My throat tightened. I quickly averted my eyes. My parents are coming tomorrow. She waved her phone, her face dark. They said it's for a housewarming ceremony. What a coincidence. Mine too. I gave an awkward laugh. Guess they conspired. Our eyes met. We both sighed. Listen, Willow said, pulling out a chair and sitting down. The robe slipped slightly, revealing a glimpse of skin. Tomorrow, we have to put on a convincing act. If my dad finds out this marriage is fake, pulling investment will be the least of our problems. Got it. I nodded. But you'll have to upgrade me to the master bedroom. What kind of newlyweds sleep in separate rooms? She narrowed her eyes. Keep dreaming, then we'll get exposed. I shrugged. My mom's sharp. She'll notice in a heartbeat that we're not sharing a bed. Her fingernails tapped the table rhythmically, the sound of danger. After a long pause, she said reluctantly, "Fine, you can sleep in the master bedroom, on the floor. Deal." I grinned. Mission accomplished. The next morning, Willow kicked me awake. Up, she ordered, throwing a shopping bag at me. Go buy breakfast, Chinese and Western. Enough for 10 people. And, she pointed at the bags under my eyes. Do something about those. You look like a panda. Half asleep, I staggered toward the bathroom. The door was ajar, water running inside. On impulse, I pushed it open. Steam billowed. Willow stood under the shower, back to me, water trickling down her spine, over her waist, and further. Oh, she spun around, snatching a bottle of body wash and hurling it at me. George, you're dead. I stumbled out, banging my shoulder against the doorframe. Pain shot through me, but damn, that image would stay burned in my brain for life. Better than a triple espresso. When I came back with breakfast, Willow was fully dressed, busy in the kitchen. To my surprise, there were actually several proper-looking dishes on the table. You made these? I asked, leaning closer. They smelled amazing. Who else? The breakfast fairy, she said without looking up. Pour the soy milk and plate the pastries. I obeyed, sneaking glances at her hair tied up, Apron on, she looked almost like a real wife instead of the corporate dominatrix she usually was. If only she were this gentle more often. Stare any longer and I'll gouge your eyes out. Yeah, still the same demon queen. At exactly 10, the doorbell rang. 4 parents marched in with gift bags and shopping baskets, instantly filling the once cold apartment with noise. Oh, this place is lovely, my mom exclaimed dramatically. Just needs a bit more warmth. I'll buy you a pair of embroidered lovebird pillows later. Willow sweetly wrapped her arm around mine. Thank you, Auntie. Auntie. Mr. Lou frowned. Thank you, Mom. Willow's voice was barely above a whisper. I nearly burst out laughing. I pinched her waist discreetly. She retaliated by twisting the flesh on my back so hard I almost yelped. What a loving couple, my dad said, oblivious to the silent warfare going on right in front of him. At lunch, Willow actually served a full, beautiful meal. I tried the braised pork and almost choked from shock. You really made this? Who else? She raised an eyebrow smugly. You think I only know PowerPoint? Willow's always been good in the kitchen, Mrs. Lou said proudly. She's been taking care of people since she was little. Her words triggered a memory, that high school camping trip when I forgot my lunchbox, and Willow accidentally made an extra sandwich and shoved it into my hands. It had tasted so good I was sure she'd poisoned it. After lunch, the parents began their inspection of the home. My heart jumped into my throat. My blankets and pillow were still lying on the floor in the master bedroom. We'll go cut some fruit. I grabbed Willow's hand and bolted toward the kitchen. What's your problem? She pulled free, completely calm. I already handled it. Sure enough, when we returned to the master bedroom, the floor bed was gone. The big bed was now an artfully messy double, and on the nightstand sat an open box of condoms. My dad's grin could have split his face in half. Mr. Lou's expression was complicated, equal parts pride and quiet despair. After seeing the parents off, I collapsed onto the sofa with a long exhale. Show's over. Finally. Your acting sucks, Willow said, kicking me in the leg. Why were you staring at me the whole time? You trying to make everyone see that our marriage is fake? Is it illegal to look at my own wife? I replied shamelessly. Besides, you look kind of domestic in that apron. She froze for half a second, the tips of her ears turning faintly pink. Shut up. That night, I stood at the master bedroom door holding my blanket. Where's my floor bed? Make it yourself. Willow was already in pajamas, sitting at her vanity removing her makeup. As I spread out my bedding, I stole a glance at her reflection in the mirror. Without her usual sharp eyeliner and lipstick, her face looked softer, almost cute. Another look and I'll start charging you, she said flatly, glaring at me through the mirror. Charging to look at my own wife? I lay down, smirking. According to Article 24 of the marriage law, a pillow hit me square in the face. Sleep. In the dark, I listened to her breathing grow slow and steady. Strangely enough, it was comforting. How weird, we'd been enemies all our lives, and now we were, sleeping in the same room. The next morning, the smell of coffee woke me. Willow was already dressed, frying eggs in the kitchen. Wow. The sun must be rising in the west, I mumbled, rubbing my eyes. Shut up and eat. She slid a plate toward me, perfectly fried sunny-side-up eggs and toasted bread. I took a bite and nearly teared up. The last time I'd had a homemade breakfast was before college. Don't forget the board meeting today, she said, sipping her coffee. 9:30. That's when I remembered, today was the key meeting for the West City project. The Lius desperately needed it to recover, and the Wongs were the main investors. The boardroom was thick with tension. A few old directors kept picking apart Willow's proposal. I could see her holding back her irritation. I think Director Lou's plan is quite visionary, I suddenly said. The room went silent. Positioning West City as a luxury business district fits perfectly with urban development trends. Willow looked at me, startled. I winked. We were married now, shared fate, shared profits. The proposal passed. After the meeting, Willow cornered me in the hallway. Why did you help me? Who said I helped you? I shrugged. I just sided with the money. She stared at me for a few seconds, then smiled, genuinely. Dinner's on me tonight. Huh? I blinked. Don't eat then. Eat. Of course. Extra meat, please. And just like that, our strange cohabitation began. By day, we were rivals locked in corporate combat. By night, we somehow managed to share meals. Gradually, my stuff crept into her territory, my toothbrush next to hers, my shirts in her closet, my game console hooked up to her TV. One night after working late, I came home to find Willow curled up on the couch watching Empresses in the Palace, munching on my chips. I thought you said this show was stupid, I said, taking off my jacket. Shut up, she muttered, eyes glued to the screen. Consort was about to order Summer to be flogged to death. I tried not to laugh, heading to shower. When I came out, she'd even warmed up a late-night snack for me. Don't get the wrong idea, she said without looking at me. I just don't want you starving to death. I'm too young to be a widow. I ate the hot dumplings, something in my chest melting to mush. During the weekend company retreat, I got completely drunk. Willow cursed me out while forcing honey water down my throat. I hugged her, slurring, "You're so good to me, wifey. Get off." She shoved me away, but still came back with a wet towel to wipe my face. The next morning, I woke up with a pounding head. On the bedside table sat hangover pills, a glass of warm water, and a sticky note. "Drink this next time you come home like that. Sleep on the street, Lou." I held the note, chest tight with something I couldn't name. Crap, I think I'm actually falling for this devil woman. Meanwhile, in Willow Lou's diary, the latest entry read, "That idiot actually remembered I hate cilantro. Damn it, why is my heart beating so fast?" Chapter 3, Exes and Truths. On Monday morning, as I was tying my tie in front of the mirror, Willow suddenly appeared in the reflection, startling me so much that I fumbled and tied the tie into a knot. This afternoon at 3, a video conference with Baitian Capital. She was wearing that power suit that makes her legs look 2 meters long, putting on earrings as she spoke. "Don't be late, Baitian Capital." I frowned. I haven't heard of them. New investors, with a solid background. She sprayed some citrus-scented perfume, the kind that makes you want to bite into it. They specifically requested to meet with both of us. Before I could ask why both of us, she was already out the door, heels clicking rapidly, leaving behind a trail of fragrance and the parting words, "Remember to clean up your stinky socks." At 2:50 p.m., when I opened the conference room door, Willow was already there. She had her hair pinned up today, exposing her long neck, and her profile was sharp and clean, like a sketch. "You're late." She didn't even look up. "There are still 10 minutes. I pulled out the chair next to hers and sat down, deliberately getting close. She shifted away slightly and said, "Move further. You smell like sweat." I was about to retort when the video conference began. A sharp-featured face appeared on the screen, looking to be in his early 30s, dressed in a suit, radiating elite vibes. "Willow, long time no see." The man smiled, his voice low and magnetic. I turned abruptly to look at Willow and saw her expression freeze, her fingers unconsciously twisting together. Makoto." Her voice shook slightly. "Are you the representative of Baitian?" "Technically, I'm the founder." Makoto Ito chuckled lightly, his gaze shifting to me. "This must be Mr. Wong. Pleased to meet you." I stretched my arm across the back of Willow's chair, making my territorial claim obvious. "Mr. Ito, do you know my wife? We were college classmates." Makoto's gaze flitted between me and Willow. "To be more precise, we were exes." I nearly slipped off my chair. Willow had an ex, and someone like this, an elite. "It's all in the past." Willow regained her composure. "Mr. Ito, I assume you're here for business." "Of course." Makoto switched to business mode. "We're very interested in the West City project, but there are a few details we need to discuss." Throughout the meeting, I was as uncomfortable as could be. Makoto's words were polite, but his eyes never left Willow. The most infuriating part was that Willow actually smiled the whole time, a look I rarely saw on her. After the meeting, I grabbed Willow as she was about to leave. "X, what's going on? Why does it concern you?" She shook off my hand. "How does it not concern me?" I lowered my voice. "Now the whole company knows you're my wife. And then he suddenly shows up. What's the deal?" Willow rolled her eyes and said, "That was 5 years ago. Can you act a bit more mature? His look at you doesn't seem like it's 5 years ago," I said, with a sour tone. Willow suddenly leaned in close enough for me to count her eyelashes. "George, don't tell me you're jealous." "Ha." I exaggerated a laugh. "Jealous? I'd be thrilled if you got back with him. That way, I'd be free." As soon as the words left my mouth, I regretted them. Willow's expression immediately turned cold. "Don't worry." She turned to leave. "Our marriage is purely a business arrangement. You can look for whoever you want." Watching her back as she walked away, my chest tightened. Damn it, that wasn't what I meant at all. That night, I purposely worked late. When I finally got home, the apartment was pitch dark. I turned on the lights and saw a cold meal waiting on the dining table, with a sticky note beside it: "If you're not eating, throw it away, Lou." I stared at the plate of sweet and sour ribs, feeling oddly heavy inside. After reheating the food and finishing it, I crept upstairs quietly. There was no light seeping out from the master bedroom door. I pushed it open gently. Willow was lying on her side, facing away from me, breathing evenly. I lay down on the floor mat, staring at the ceiling. Suddenly, her voice came out of the darkness. "He was a year ahead of me. We broke up after graduation." I held my breath. "He went to the US for an MBA, and I stayed here." Long distance didn't last half a year. She turned over. I couldn't see her face. "That's it. Nothing special." I didn't know what to say, so I just muttered, "So stop looking like a guy who just got cheated on," she said sharply again. "It's pathetic." That stung. I sat up. "I'm not. Go to sleep. We have a client meeting tomorrow." She pulled the blanket up and clearly didn't want to continue. The next noon, Willow and I went to meet an important client. To my horror, Makoto was there too, and, coincidentally, sitting right next to her. What a surprise. Makoto gallantly pulled out a chair for Willow. I remember you loved Cantonese food. I nearly snapped my chopsticks in half. After a few rounds of drinks, the topic shifted to golf. Makoto started bragging about his club membership and handicap. Mr. Wong, you play too, don't you? He suddenly threw the question at me. Sometimes, I said modestly. In reality, my golf skills were trash. Our club has a game this weekend. Makoto smiled. You should come, and bring Willow. Willow, so casual with her name. I was about to refuse, but Willow cut in. Sure, it'd be a good chance for George to learn something from Makoto. I stared at her in disbelief. She pretended not to notice. That woman was definitely doing this on purpose. As the dinner went on, the client started pushing drinks hard. Willow's alcohol tolerance was SOSO. A few glasses and her cheeks were flushed. I saw it was getting bad and stepped in to take her drinks for her. Mr. Wong can really hold his liquor. The client filled my glass again. Come on, one more. Glass after glass. My vision blurred. The last thing I remembered was Willow frowning as she helped me into the car, and me taking the chance to steal a kiss from her cheek. When I woke up, I was on our couch, head pounding. Willow sat across from me, holding a cup of honey water, her expression unreadable. You're up? She handed me the cup. Do you remember what you said last night? I tried to recall. I complimented you. Not just that. She pulled out her phone and hit play. From the speaker came my drunken voice. I've actually liked you since high school. Every time you glared at me, my heart would race. That school uniform skirt. I even dreamed about it. I nearly choked on the honey water. Oh my God. I said that. I was drunk. I stammered. I didn't mean it. Oh. Willow raised an eyebrow. And this part? She played another clip. The marriage was on purpose. That so-called business alliance. I just wanted to marry you, to piss off your dad. I groaned and buried my face in my hands. Great. I confessed everything. Willow turned off her phone and looked at me quietly. Through my fingers, I peeked at her, and caught the faint curve of her lips. So, she said slowly, this marriage was your carefully planned scheme. It's not. I lowered my hands. Okay, maybe at first, but later. Later what? Later I realized you're impossible to deal with, I muttered, giving up all pretense. But somehow, I just like you more. Willow's expression softened for a split second, but she quickly regained her pride and snapped. Idiot. I thought she'd mock me again, but instead, she just stood up and tossed out. Don't embarrass me at golf this weekend. As she walked away, I let out a long sigh. Did I just pass the test? Saturday morning, I put on my brand new golf outfit, my palms sweaty with nerves. Willow, on the other hand, looked effortlessly casual, white shirt, khaki pants, fresh and simple, like a college student. Relax. She handed me a bottle of water. You're going to lose anyway. Can't you say something encouraging for once? I groaned. She suddenly reached up to straighten my collar. Her fingertips brushed lightly against my neck, sending an unexpected shiver down my spine. Just come back alive. Makoto's smile froze for a split second when he saw us arrive together. When he teed off, he deliberately showed off a flawless swing. The ball landed gracefully near the green. Then it was my turn. My palms were slick, and my brain replayed the golf tutorial video I'd crammed the night before. Relax, Willow whispered beside my ear. Don't stiffen your wrists. She stepped behind me, her hands guiding mine on the club to adjust my grip. Her breath brushed against my ear, and my mind went completely blank. The result was predictable. I hit a perfect grounder. The ball rolled pitifully for maybe 50 meters before stopping. Makoto laughed openly. First time playing, Mr. Wong. Second, I said stiffly. No worries, he said in that fake friendly tone. You'll get better with practice. The rest of the match was pure torture. Makoto kept showing off like a pro, while I floundered like a toddler learning to walk. Worse yet, Willow seemed impressed. She clapped politely every time Makoto landed a good shot. By the 9th hole, I was more than 20 strokes behind. Makoto suddenly suggested, how about a little bet? Loser of the next hole buys dinner. Sure. I forced a smile. Let's raise the stakes, he said, glancing meaningfully at Willow. If I win, I'd like to have dinner alone with Willow, just to catch up. My blood boiled instantly. This bastard really dared to hit on my wife right in front of me. If I win, I said through gritted teeth, you stay the hell away from my wife. Makoto raised an eyebrow. Deal. Willow sighed beside us, rubbing her temples. You two are such children. On the final hole, I focused like never before. Maybe anger gave me power, but my shot this time was perfect. The ball landed less than 10 yards from the hole. Makoto, overconfident, misjudged his swing. His ball veered right, straight into a bunker. Lucky shot, he muttered, clearly displeased. In the end, I won the hole by a narrow margin. Makoto, forced to honor his word, left the course early with a dark expression. Didn't know you had it in you, Willow said on the ride back, rare praise in her tone. Of course, I grinned. I had to fight for my wife. Yeah, Right. She turned her head toward the window, but I caught the faint blush creeping up her ears. When we got home, Willow went straight into the bathroom. I collapsed on the couch, replaying the day in my head, grinning like an idiot. Maybe this fake marriage could actually turn real. I was in the middle of a sweet dream when the bathroom door suddenly burst open. Willow came rushing out wrapped in a bathrobe. "George, the water heater's broken." I scrambled upstairs to check. The bathroom was filled with steam. Her hair was dripping wet, and the collar of her robe hung loosely, revealing the small beauty mark on her collarbone. "Let me see." I bent down to inspect the heater, doing my best to ignore the drenched goddess standing behind me. "Can you fix it?" She leaned closer, and the scent of her shower gel filled my nose, dizzying me. Probably just the circuit tripped. My voice tightened as I reached for the switch. At that moment, Willow slipped and fell right onto my back. I instinctively turned to catch her, and we both ended up crashing down together on the wet tile floor. She landed straddling my lap, her bathrobe half open, exposing one bare shoulder. For a moment, time froze. Our eyes met, hers dark and glistening through the mist. I could feel her heartbeat, rapid and fragile like a startled bird. My throat went dry. Willow suddenly jumped up and tightened her robe. "Just fix it and get out." I fled the bathroom in embarrassment, leaning against the door outside to calm my racing heart. That moment, did she feel something too? That night, I tossed and turned on my futon. Then Willow's voice came from the bed above me. "My birthday's next week." "Huh?" I blinked, then realized. "Oh, right, October 18th. You remember." There was a note of surprise in her voice. "Of course," I blurted out. "Back in high school, I used to send you anonymous chocolates every year." The second I said it, I wanted to bite my tongue off. Why did I always end up confessing stuff like that? From the darkness came Willow's soft laugh. "So it was you." "They tasted awful. They were Belgian." I protested. "They were expensive." "This year," she paused. "I want a real present." "Sure." I turned to face her direction. "What do you want?" "Haven't decided yet." Her voice softened. "Go to sleep." The next morning, I found Willow curled up on the sofa, pale-faced. "What's wrong?" I crouched down beside her. "It's nothing." She bit her lip. "Just the usual." Then it hit me, that time of the month. I remembered she used to skip school around this time back in high school. "Hold on." I dashed into the kitchen, dug out some brown sugar and ginger, and made a cup of ginger brown sugar tea from memory. "Here." I handed her the mug. "It's hot." Willow took it, her expression unreadable. "You don't get emotional," I said on purpose, smirking a little. "I just don't want you dying from pain. No one else would cook for me." She rolled her eyes but obediently finished the drink. I quietly slipped a heat patch into the pocket of her coat, then used work as an excuse to sneak out before she could notice. When I got home that evening, Willow looked much better. She was in the kitchen making porridge, the aroma filling the room. On the dining table sat a box of my favorite team's merchandise, a limited edition autographed photo. "What's this?" I picked up the frame. "Freebie from the supermarket," she said without turning around. No one else wanted it. I couldn't help grinning. This woman, even when she's caring, she has to act like she's not. Before bed, I noticed something odd. The futon on the floor was gone. There was an extra pillow on the bed. "The floor's too cold," Willow said, still facing away from me, but no crossing the line. I climbed into bed as quietly as possible, keeping a clear, great wall of distance between us. "Yes, ma'am," I said softly, "as you command, my dear wife." In the dark, I heard her laugh, a quiet, gentle sound. That night, I slept better than I had in years. Chapter 4. Birthday and Betrayal. A week before Willow's birthday, I secretly created a WeChat group called Operation Command Center, with members including my little sister, David, and Willow's assistant, Lara. I texted in the group, "You're sure she's free that day?" Lara replied instantly. Miss Lou specifically cleared her schedule, but I noticed a G written on her calendar. Not sure what that means. G. Gift? Garden? No, that can't be right, it's not even spring. Then it hit me, G stands for gathering. She's looking forward to a family reunion. Change of plans. I typed quickly. "We're not doing it at the restaurant anymore, it'll be at home." "David, you handle the chef." "Sis, your job is to trick our parents and the Lius into coming." "I want it to be a surprise." "Are you serious, bro?" My sister sent a facepalm emoji. "The last family gathering nearly brought the roof down. This time is different," I said, full of confidence. Over the next few days, I worked like a secret agent right under Willow's nose, contacting a decoration company while she showered, sneaking out under the excuse of working overtime to order the cake, even secretly measuring her ring finger. I planned to give her a ring, not a wedding ring, but a custom one with her birthstone. The night before her birthday, Willow was still working late. I used the time to decorate the living room, ribbons and balloons everywhere, and a slideshow of her childhood photos playing softly in the background. At 1 in the morning, just as I was hanging the last ribbon, the door lock clicked. I panicked, turned off the lights, and hid in the kitchen. George? Willow's tired voice echoed through the room. I held my breath. She turned on the lights and froze. The wall was covered with rose petals spelling out, "Happy Birthday, Willow." And unopened gift boxes sat neatly on the dining table. "Come out," she sighed. "I can see your shoes." I awkwardly stepped out of the kitchen. "Just setting up early. I wanted to surprise you tomorrow." Willow looked around, her expression unreadable. "You didn't have to do all this." "What do you mean, didn't have to? This is your first birthday since we got married." She lowered her gaze, her long lashes casting shadows on her cheeks. "Thank you." That "thank you" was soft as a feather, yet it burned through my chest. I couldn't help reaching out to hug her, but she sidestepped. "I'm tired. I'll take a shower first." Watching her walk away, I scratched my head. Something felt off. The next morning, I sneaked into Willow's study looking for her passport. I pretended I needed it for a visa application, but in truth, I just wanted to confirm she had no travel plans that day. Her study was spotless, like a showroom, except for one drawer crammed with documents. While searching, I accidentally knocked a photo frame off the shelf. As I bent down to pick it up, I noticed a small safe hidden behind the bookshelf. What was odd was that the door was slightly ajar, as if it had been used recently. Curiosity got the better of me. I crouched down and peeked inside. There were several file folders, and the top one made my blood run cold. Evidence of Wong Group's violations. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a thick stack of documents, records of Wong Group's tax evasion, shady land deals, and even intimate photos of my father with certain officials. The latest file was dated last week and detailed suspicious fund movements in the Wong Group's West City project. "What are you looking for?" Willow's voice came from behind me. I spun around in shock, the documents scattering across the floor. She stood at the doorway in her bathrobe, droplets of water sliding down her hair, but her expression was cold as ice. "Explain this." I pointed at the papers on the floor, my voice trembling. "What is all this?" For a brief moment, panic flashed in her eyes before she quickly composed herself. "Just business research." "Business research?" I snatched up a photo. "This too? My father having dinner with the Land Bureau director. You had someone follow him." "That was a public event," she said tightly, pressing her lips together. "And this?" I grabbed another document. "Wong Group's internal quarterly report. This is classified." "How the hell did you get it?" Willow said nothing. Her gaze drifted elsewhere. Then it all clicked. "You married me for this? To get easier access to the Wong family's dirt?" "No." She snapped her head up. "At first, yes, but later." "Later what?" I stepped closer, fury rising. "Later you realized how easy I was to fool. So you just kept playing along." "George, it's not what you think." "Then what is it?" I shouted. "You've been using me this whole time, cooking for me, taking care of me, even sharing my bed, was all an act." Willow's face turned pale. "I didn't." "Enough." I grabbed my jacket and stormed out. "The birthday party's cancelled." "Congratulations, you've successfully fooled me for 3 months." "George." She chased me to the door. "Where are you going?" "As far away from you as possible, liar." I slammed the door, cutting off her voice. Out on the street, I wandered like a ghost. The October wind had turned cold, but I couldn't feel it. My mind was a whirlpool of memories, the brown sugar water she'd made for me, the sports card she'd secretly slipped under my pillow, the drunken confession she'd recorded one night. Was it all fake? Without realizing it, I ended up at David's place. When he opened the door and saw my face, he didn't ask a thing, just grabbed 2 bottles of whiskey. 3 glasses later, I poured everything out. "So," David summed up, "your wife was collecting evidence against your family, trying to bring down Wong Group." "Yeah." I downed another glass. The liquor burned down my throat like fire. "And you don't know why she did it?" "Do I need to?" "It's family hatred. She was raised to despise the Wongs." David frowned thoughtfully. "Then why does she still keep those chocolate wrappers from high school?" "What wrappers?" "Last time I was at your place playing games, I saw a box on the top shelf of her bookcase, full of chocolate wrappers, and a note that said, 'For the person I hate the most.' Wasn't that from you?" Half the alcohol left my system in an instant. "Those awful imported chocolate wrappers. She kept them." "No. Wait, doesn't matter. She betrayed me." I shook my head violently, trying to block the image. "She only got close to me to gather evidence." "Then why'd she sleep with you?" David asked bluntly. "We didn't." "Wait, how do you know we?" "That hickey on your neck, man. The whole basketball team saw it last week." Instinctively, I touched my neck. "Yeah, Willow had." "No, stop thinking about that." Just then, my phone buzzed. It was my sister. "Bro, Mom and Dad are already at the villa. The chef's ready. Where the hell are you?" That's when I remembered the birthday plan. I checked the time, 4 p.m. The party was supposed to start at 6. "Cancel it." I texted. "What? No way. The Liu's parents flew back from South City just for this." My sister replied. I turned off my phone, my head throbbing. "What now? Go back and face that liar?" Or just vanish? David patted my shoulder. Man, I think you should go back and ask her. What if it's all a misunderstanding? What kind of misunderstanding explains her collecting evidence against my family? Like, maybe she was trying to protect your family instead. I gave a bitter laugh. Willow helping me, the day the sun rises in the west. Maybe. But in the end, I decided to go. After all, the 4 parents were already there. I couldn't just ditch them. By the time I reached the villa, night had fallen. From outside, the house was glowing with lights. Laughter drifting through the windows. Looked like the party had started without me. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door, only to get a face full of confetti spray. Happy birth. Oh, it's you, bro. My sister froze mid-cheer, lowering the spray can awkwardly. In the living room, a dozen faces turned toward me, the 4 parents, David, Lara, and others. At the center of the dining table sat a 3-tier cake surrounded by piles of gifts. George, my mom rushed over. Where have you been? Willow said you had some last-minute emergency. I glanced around. No, Willow. Where is she? Upstairs getting changed, Mr. Liu said, handing me a glass of wine. Come, have a drink. I forced polite smiles, exchanging small talk while my mind stayed upstairs. 20 minutes later, Willow finally appeared. She wore a wine-red dress, her hair pinned up neatly, makeup flawless, except for her swollen eyes. She'd been crying. Willow, the mothers called out, surrounding her. Happy birthday. She smiled weakly, and when her gaze brushed mine, she quickly looked away. Throughout dinner, we acted like strangers, sitting at opposite ends of the long table, each pretending to enjoy the conversation. You two fight, my dad muttered quietly to me. No, I said flatly. When it came time for the cake, Willow blew out the candles mechanically, her face stiff as everyone teased her to make a wish. I stood at the edge of the crowd, watching her profile tighten. My chest ached. Gift time. My sister cheered. Everyone lined up to hand her presents. Willow thanked each one politely, her smile barely reaching her eyes. Then it was my turn. The small blue velvet box in my pocket felt like it was burning through my clothes. My throat closed up. Didn't prepare anything. Her expression dimmed instantly, but she forced a smile. That's okay. Just then, Lara raised her hand. Miss Liu, what's that G on your calendar? We've been guessing for days. Willow froze, a blush creeping up her cheeks. It's nothing, just a random note. I know, I said without thinking. It stands for Jia, home. Willow's head snapped toward me, eyes wide with surprise, because she wanted to celebrate at home. I continued, reaching into my pocket for the box. So, I prepared something. I walked toward her. Willow stiffened, looking like a startled deer. It's not a wedding ring, I said with an awkward chuckle. Don't panic. I opened the box. Inside was a sapphire ring, the gem cut in the shape of a willow leaf. October's birthstone, I said hoarsely. Sapphire, symbol of loyalty and trust. I emphasized the last word. Willow's face went pale, her fingers trembling slightly. Wow. Gasps and exclamations rose around us. How romantic. Under the crowd's urging, I slipped the ring onto her finger. Her hand was icy cold. When our skin touched, she flinched ever so slightly. Thank you, she murmured, her voice barely audible. The party went on late into the night. I drank myself senseless. The last thing I remembered was Willow helping me upstairs. I shoved her hand away. Don't touch me, liar. When I woke up the next morning, I was lying on the bed in the guest room, my head splitting with pain. On the bedside table sat a glass of honey water and 2 hangover pills. Next to them was the blue velvet box. The ring was gone. The living room was silent. Only Lara was tidying up the remnants of the party. Where's Miss Liu? I croaked. She left early for the office. Lara hesitated, glancing at me. President Wang, about last night. It's fine. I cut her off. The cake yesterday. Miss Liu didn't eat a single bite. Lara sighed. She said she didn't have an appetite. A sharp pain shot through my chest. I turned to leave, but Lara called after me again. Oh, Mr. Makoto called this morning. Something's wrong with the West City project's funding. He needed Miss Liu to handle it urgently. My brow furrowed. What kind of problem? Seems the main investor pulled out. My stomach dropped. The West City project was the Liu family's last hope to turn things around. If it collapsed, their financial chain would snap completely. On the way to the office, my mind replayed the files I'd seen. Why had Willow gathered dirt on Wang Group? To threaten my father into investing. Or, when I pushed open the office door, Willow was on the phone, her expression tense. The moment she saw me, her body stiffened, but she quickly ended the call. Makoto said the investor withdrew. I said directly. She kept her eyes on the papers in front of her. I'll handle it. Why did they pull out? They questioned the project's profitability. She avoided my gaze. I let out a cold laugh. Let me guess, word got out that Wang Group and Liu Group aren't on good terms. So the investors got spooked. Willow's head shot up. What do you mean? The literal meaning, I said, stepping closer. Funny how Makoto found out about our fight so quickly. You told him, didn't you? I didn't. She stood abruptly. I only found out this morning myself. What a coincidence, I sneered. I just discovered you've been collecting dirt on my family. And suddenly your project's funding collapses. What's next? Threaten my father into investing. Willow's face drained of color. George, it's not what you think. Then what is it? I shouted. Tell me. She opened her mouth but no words came out. Finally, she rubbed her temples wearily. Get out. My pleasure. I slammed the door behind me. For the next week, we were like strangers. I moved into the guest room, left early, came home late, and avoided her whenever possible. At the company, the West City project had ground to a halt, and the board was constantly at each other's throats. Friday night was the company's annual gala. I was already drunk when I noticed Willow surrounded by a group of clients pushing drinks her way. She couldn't hold her liquor. After a few glasses, she was swaying. On impulse, I stormed over. My wife's had enough. I'll drink for her. Willow looked at me in surprise. Her eyes complicated. I downed one glass after another until my vision blurred. The last thing I remembered was Willow helping me into the car. My head rested on her shoulder as I mumbled, "Why did you lie to me? I liked you so much." When I woke up, I was back in the guest room again, my head pounding. I fumbled for my phone and saw one unread voice message, sent at 3 a.m. from Willow. I hit play. There was a rustle. Then her drunken voice, soft and slurred. "Those chocolates. I knew they were from you, they were awful, but I kept them, the wrappers are all wrinkled now, idiot. Who'd want to collect dirt on your family anyway? My dad forced me." I didn't want to. The recording cut off abruptly. I stared at the screen, heart hammering. What did that mean? She didn't want to collect evidence. Then why? Just as I was about to rush to her, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from the project's emergency group chat. Critical alert. The main investor for the West City project has officially withdrawn. Mr. Ito says there's an urgent backup plan. Presidents Wang and Liu, please report to the office immediately. My mind snapped into clarity. Makoto's urgent plan couldn't be good. Chapter 5, Truth and Alliance. By the time I burst into the office, still half hungover, the conference room was already in chaos. Willow stood in front of the projection screen, pale but composed, calmly explaining the current crisis. After Baidian Capital's withdrawal, the funding gap for the West City project has reached $270 million. If we can't cover it by next week, we'll be facing breach of contract. I quietly slipped into a seat at the back, but her eyes caught me immediately. Willow's gaze lingered for a second, complex, unreadable, before she turned back to her presentation. The numbers on the screen were terrifying. The West City project was the Liu family's lifeline. If it failed, Liu Group would face bankruptcy and restructuring. And as a major investor, Wang Group would take a huge hit too. "Mr. Ito has arrived," the secretary announced, opening the door. Makoto walked in, looking impeccable in his tailored suit, smiling politely at everyone. When his eyes met mine, the corner of his mouth curved upward, a fox that had just stolen a hen. "Thank you all for coming on a weekend," he said smoothly, stepping beside Willow, too close for my liking. "Regarding the West City project, even though Baidian has withdrawn, I'm personally willing to offer a solution." He clicked the remote. The screen switched to a new slide, an acquisition proposal. "I'm prepared to buy out Liu Group's entire stake in the project at 1.2 times the market price. That way, Liu Group not only avoids losses, but even gains a small profit." Gasps filled the room. On the surface, the offer was generous, but anyone with a brain could see the trap. Once the project was completed, its value would skyrocket to at least 5 times that figure. "Impossible," Willow said firmly. "This project is vital to Liu Group." Makoto's smile didn't falter. "Willow, don't be so quick to refuse. Given Liu Group's current financial situation, this is the best option you'll get. Our finances are none of your concern," Willow replied icily. Makoto sighed, then turned his gaze to me. "And what about you, President Wang? As a major investor, surely Wang Group doesn't want this project to end up a failure?" All eyes turned toward me. It was a trap, plain and simple. If I agreed with Makoto, I'd betray Willow. If I opposed him, I'd be accused of ignoring Wang Group's interests. I rose slowly, taking my time. "This proposal has a fatal flaw." Makoto raised an eyebrow. "Oh. It underestimates President Liu's capability." I walked forward and stopped beside Willow, shoulder to shoulder. "I believe she'll find a way to solve the funding issue. Isn't that right?" Willow blinked in surprise, then quickly caught on. "Of course, I've already reached out to several potential investors. We'll have an answer next week." Makoto's smile froze. "Is that so? Well then, good luck." He gathered his documents, and as he turned to leave, he added meaningfully, "My offer stands. Willow, anytime you change your mind." He left the sentence hanging, but everyone understood the subtext, "As long as you leave George." When the meeting ended, I followed Willow into her office. "You really have alternative investors?" I asked, shutting the door. She pressed her fingers to her temples, exhaustion written all over her face. "No, not yet. The market's bad, No one wants to touch a large-scale project like this. Then just now. A delaying tactic, she said, opening her laptop. I'll figure something out. I looked at the dark circles under her eyes, and something in my chest tightened. We'd barely spoken all week, but clearly she hadn't stopped worrying about the project. Why did you turn down Makoto? I asked suddenly. His offer wasn't bad. Willow's head snapped up, her gaze sharp. Do you want me to accept it? I'm just curious, I said with a shrug. You two are old friends. After all, George, she said, enunciating each word. I'd rather go bankrupt than sell the project to that hypocrite. That answer eased something inside me. So she and Makoto weren't as close as I'd imagined. Can I see the latest project report? I asked. She hesitated, then slid a folder across the desk. Financials are at the end. I opened it, pretending to study the numbers while secretly watching her. Willow's profile glowed pale in the sunlight, her eyelashes casting faint shadows on her cheeks. She looked thinner, fragile, almost translucent. Seen enough, she said suddenly, without looking up. I coughed awkwardly. I heard your voice message. Her fingers froze on the keyboard. You said you didn't want to collect dirt on my family. What did you mean by that? Willow took a deep breath and closed her laptop. Exactly what I said. Those files, my father forced me to gather them. He wanted leverage against Wong Group. Leverage? As in insurance, so your family couldn't hurt ours. She let out a bitter laugh. Classic Lou-style paranoia. I frowned. Then why didn't you just tell me? Would you have believed me? She shot back. In your eyes, I was already the manipulative liar, wasn't I? I had no answer. She was right. Back then, I wouldn't have listened. There's something else, Willow said after a pause. She opened a drawer and pulled out a thick envelope. You might want to see this. I took it and slid the contents out. Several old, yellowed photographs. In the first one, two young men stood arm in arm at a construction site, grinning like old friends. This is your grandfather and mine, Willow said softly. Back when they were still friends. I flipped through the rest, stunned. The two men eating together, fishing together. One photo even showed both families posing side by side. My father and hers were just boys then, wearing identical shirts, smiling like brothers. What is this? My throat went dry. Weren't they supposed to be enemies? I only found out recently, Willow sighed. In that same safe you saw, the one with the evidence, there were these photos too. I've been investigating what really happened. She turned her laptop back on and opened a scanned document. This is the original land contract from 30 years ago. Your grandfather did use some shady tactics to secure the property. But what? But that land was supposed to be his, she said, pointing to a line in tiny print. In consideration of Brother Wong's urgent need for this land for his pharmaceutical factory, I willingly transfer it at the original price. A ringing filled my head. If that was true, then this so-called family feud was built on a misunderstanding. And afterward, I asked, my voice low. Later, the contract was tampered with, the transfer clause was deleted. Willow pulled up another file. Your grandfather thought he'd been betrayed, so he retaliated. And mine thought your grandfather went back on his word. So 3 generations of hatred, I said in disbelief, all because of a forged contract. Willow nodded. I've been digging for a long time. I only found the original contract recently. I just hadn't had the chance to tell you. A dull ache spread through my chest. So Willow hadn't been collecting information to attack the Wong family, she'd been searching for the truth. And I'd accused her of betrayal. Why investigate all this? I asked quietly. She lowered her eyes. Because, she hesitated, then changed her tone. Because hate is exhausting. Silence settled between us. Sunlight streamed through the blinds, casting striped shadows across the floor. Somewhere in the distance, a keyboard clattered faintly. What now? I finally broke the silence. The project, and us. Let's fix the project first. Willow rubbed her temples. If we don't find an investor within a week, we'll be in default. I have an idea, I said suddenly. But I'll need your help. She looked up warily. What kind of idea? Merger. What? A partial merger between Wong Group and Lu Group, a joint venture company solely for the West City project. My voice grew more animated as I spoke. We can consolidate resources and attract new investors at the same time. Willow frowned. The boards would never approve it. What if we tell them it's to end a 30-year feud? I pointed to the old photos spread out on the desk. A story of business legacy and reconciliation. Media would eat that up. Willow went quiet, thinking. The sunlight caught on her lashes, casting faint shadows on her cheeks. I realized I remembered her every small habit when she was deep in thought, biting her lower lip, absently twirling a pen in her right hand. It's worth a try, she said at last. But we'll need a detailed proposal. Working late tonight? I asked cautiously. She hesitated, then nodded. All right. And so began our strange ceasefire collaboration. The entire afternoon, we buried ourselves in data, trading opinions and refining numbers. The easy rhythm between us felt so natural. It was almost as if the arguments and accusations of the past week had never happened. At 8, Takeout arrived. Willow opened the bag and frowned. Why is everything spicy? Don't you love spicy food? I said, unwrapping chopsticks. Last time I saw you eating hot pot, your eyes didn't even water. That was, she stopped mid-sentence, her ears reddening. How do you even know I like spicy food? In high school cafeteria, I replied before I could stop myself. You always added 2 spoons of chili sauce. Then I realized what I just admitted and quickly added. I sat behind you. I just noticed. Willow's lips curved into a faint smile, but she didn't call me out on it. We ate quietly, the air between us unexpectedly gentle. By 2 in the morning, the proposal was finally done. I stretched and looked over. Willow had fallen asleep on the couch, pen still in hand. Her sleeping face was soft, unguarded, almost childlike. I quietly fetched a blanket and draped it over her shoulders, unable to resist brushing a stray strand of hair from her forehead. Just then, she stirred, her eyes fluttered open. We locked eyes, close enough to feel each other's breath. My throat went dry. Willow sat up abruptly, the blanket slipping to the floor. What time is it? Past 2. I stepped back. The proposal's ready. If you want to, I'll look at it tomorrow, she said quickly, straightening the papers and avoiding my gaze. You want to sleep in the master bedroom. The guest room AC's broken. Was this a truce? My heartbeat quickened. What about you? I'll take the couch, she said, gathering her files. Still have data to check. No way, I blurted. You take the bed. I'll take the couch. Suit yourself. She turned toward the bedroom, then paused at the door. There's a new toothbrush in the bathroom cabinet. That night, I lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, sleep nowhere in sight. All I could see was Willow's drowsy face from earlier, and I couldn't help wondering how we'd gone from enemies to this in just 1 week. The next morning, I was woken by the sounds coming from the kitchen. Willow was cooking breakfast, simple fried eggs and toast, but still, it was her cooking. Eat, she said, sliding the plate toward me. We've got a board meeting at 9. I took the plate, almost startled by the gesture. The eggs were slightly overcooked, but I finished every bite. The board meeting went better than expected. When Willow and I presented the merger plan and showed those old photos, even the most stubborn directors faltered. Interesting, my father mused from the other end of the video call. Does old Lou know about this? Willow nodded. My father fully supports it. All right, my dad said finally. Give it a shot, but I expect visible progress within 3 months. When the meeting ended, Willow and I exchanged a victorious high five, only to jolt apart the moment our hands touched. The air between us thickened with awkward silence. So, I cleared my throat. Should we start reaching out to the media for exposure? Willow kept her head down, organizing her files. I've already scheduled interviews with a few business journalists. Just then, the secretary rushed in. President Lou, Mr. Ito is here. Says he has something urgent. Willow frowned. Tell him to wait. No need, came a voice from behind. Makoto strode in uninvited, immaculate as always. When his eyes landed on us standing together, his expression hardened. Well, seems I'm interrupting something. Get to the point, Willow replied coolly. Makoto smiled faintly and handed her a folder. A new offer, 30% higher than before, on one condition. His gaze slid to me. You go back to being single. My fists clenched. You son of a... Makoto. Willow's voice cracked like a whip. Get out. Don't be so hasty, he said smoothly. You know better than anyone what shape Lou Group is in. Without this money, you'll be bankrupt in a week. Willow's face went pale. Her fingers tightened around the edge of the folder. We don't need your money, I said suddenly. The project's funding issue has been solved. Makoto raised an eyebrow. Oh, and which investor would be so reckless? Wong Group, I said, locking eyes with him. I've pledged my personal shares as collateral, an additional investment of $270 million. Willow's head whipped toward me, her eyes wide. Truthfully, I was just as shocked as she was, because I'd made that decision in the moment. You, Makoto's smug composure cracked. Do you even realize what that means? If this project fails, it won't fail. I cut him off. Not with Director Lou on board. Makoto glanced between us, then chuckled. How touching. I must have underestimated this marriage of yours. He turned to leave but paused at the door. You have my number. Willow, my offer stands, whenever you change your mind. The door shut behind him. Willow grabbed my wrist, her voice shaking. Are you insane? Those shares are your inheritance guarantee. So what? I shrugged. Worst case, I move back home and mooch off my parents. Why? Her voice quivered. Why would you do this? I met her reddened eyes, suddenly unable to say anything glib. Because, I took a deep breath. Because I trust you. Willow's lips trembled. Her eyes shimmered with something unspoken, anger, gratitude, something in between. At last, she whispered, thank you. The air shifted, charged and fragile. We were standing too close. I could feel her breath against my skin. Without meaning to, I leaned forward. She tilted her face upward, just slightly. President Lou. The secretary's voice sliced through the air as the door burst open. The reporters are here. We sprang apart like we'd been electrocuted. Willow cleared her throat, straightening her jacket. I'll be right there. When the secretary left, she avoided my eyes. So, the press conference. Together, I offered, extending my hand. She hesitated, then placed her hand lightly in mine. Together. At the press conference, we were flawless. Our teamwork was seamless, our words synchronized, our expressions perfectly in sync. We told the story the media wanted to hear, two people brought together by a business marriage, who discovered their family's feud was a decades-old misunderstanding, and decided to unite to build a business empire together. The reporters loved it. Flashbulbs exploded like fireworks. That's so touching, a female journalist gushed, dabbing at her eyes. So you're saying this was love after marriage? Well, I glanced at Willow. She smiled softly, slipping her arm through mine. Love begins in many ways, she said lightly. Ours might just be a little unconventional. Her answer didn't confirm nor deny anything, but my heart thundered like I'd run a marathon. On the way back to the office, neither of us mentioned the almost kiss. The following days were a blur: merger paperwork, project relaunches, media follow-ups. Yet no matter how busy I was, I didn't feel tired. Watching Willow at her desk, focused and radiant, hearing her mutter "idiot" under her breath when I messed up a spreadsheet, even her prank of adding pepper to my coffee, it all made me strangely happy. By Friday night, we finally got to head home early. Willow cooked noodles in the kitchen while I slumped on the couch watching a soccer match. Dinner's ready, she called, bringing over 2 steaming bowls of tomato and egg noodles. I took a bite and raised my eyebrows. Wow, you've leveled up, Chef Lou. Don't flatter me, she said, rolling her eyes, but there was a small smile tugging at her lips. We ate quietly, the TV commentator's excited voice filling the silence. It was such an ordinary moment, so simple it felt precious. After dinner, Willow started clearing the dishes, but accidentally knocked her folder off the counter. Papers scattered everywhere. I crouched to help pick them up, then froze. Among the papers lay a familiar-looking notebook, her diary. It had fallen open to a page that read, "That idiot looked kind of handsome when he blocked those drinks for me today." I froze. Willow gasped, snatching the diary from my hands, her face turning crimson. We stared at each other. The air felt charged, like the world had stopped spinning. My throat went dry. Don't look, she said, clutching the diary to her chest. It's nothing. I stepped closer, my heart pounding so loud I could barely hear my own thoughts. Willow, Just then, her phone started ringing. On the screen, one name flashed, Makoto. Chapter 6, Crisis and True Feelings. Willow stared at the phone screen showing Makoto calling, her finger hovering in the air. The delicate tension between us froze instantly. Answer it, I said, pretending to sound casual. Put it on speaker. She took a deep breath and pressed the button. Hello. Willow. Makoto's voice came through the speaker, calm and confident. Have you made up your mind? My offer expires tomorrow. Willow's fingernails dug into her palm. I already told you, it's impossible. No need to rush your refusal. Makoto chuckled. I just got off the phone with Vice President Wang from Wang Corporation. He told me some interesting news. My brow twitched. Vice President Wang, my uncle. What kind of news? Willow's voice tightened. For instance, Makoto said leisurely, the mortgage of George's shares never actually passed the board's approval. And the construction site of the West City project might suffer an accident tomorrow, causing an indefinite delay. I shot up from my chair, which screeched harshly against the floor. What do you mean? Willow's face went pale. Exactly what it sounds like. Makoto's tone turned cold. Willow Lou, this is your last chance. Sign the agreement. Cut ties with the Lou Corporation, and I'll make sure you walk away unharmed. Otherwise what? I snatched the phone from her. Makoto, I dare you to touch that site. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end before a low laugh echoed. George, your uncle was right. You can't keep your cool. But fine. I'll tell you. After tomorrow, the West City project will be shut down due to a major safety incident, and you will take full responsibility for it, as a failed decision maker. You and my uncle, you're in this together. My voice trembled. Partners, Makoto corrected coldly. Mutual benefit. He wants control of Wang Corporation. And his voice dropped, sharp as ice. I want the Liu family bankrupt. I want Willow on her knees, begging me. Willow's lips lost all color. Why? She whispered. When we broke up, you said, because you chose the Liu family over me. Makoto exploded. I asked you to go to the US with me, but you didn't believe I could make something of myself. Now I'll make you feel what it's like to lose everything. The line went dead. The room fell into suffocating silence. Damn it, I finally muttered. I need to get to the site. Willow grabbed my arm. Wait, he just said he's working with your uncle. I heard him. My teeth clenched. I knew that old fox was up to no good. Willow suddenly ran into the study. Moments later, she returned holding a stack of photos. Look at this. In the photos, Makoto and my uncle were toasting at an upscale restaurant. The date stamp read 3 months ago, right when Baitian Capital first approached the Lu Corporation. Where did you get these? I asked, stunned. I hired a private investigator, Willow said, biting her lip. I wanted to check Makoto's background. I didn't expect this. You suspected him all along. Just a gut feeling, she said tersely. He showed up at the perfect time. It was too convenient. I flipped through the photos carefully. In the background of one, I spotted a familiar face, Makoto's assistant whispering to a man in a baseball cap. Though his face was only half visible, I recognized him instantly, a foreman from the construction site. That's him. I pointed at the photo, the key player in tomorrow's so-called accident. Willow leaned closer to look, her hair brushing against my cheek, carrying a faint scent of jasmine. I inhaled unconsciously, almost forgetting the gravity of the situation. We have to stop them. Willow stood up decisively. We're going to the site, now. Wait. I grabbed her arm. If they're desperate, they might. That's why we can't alert them. Her eyes gleamed with determination. We sneak in, find proof, then act. So, at 11 that night, we slipped into the West City construction site. Under the moonlight, the half-finished high-rise loomed like the skeleton of a beast, dark and eerie. Should we split up? I whispered. Willow shook her head. Too dangerous. We stay together. We crept through the site, flashlights dimmed to their lowest setting. Suddenly, Willow tugged at my sleeve. Someone's there. We hid behind a pile of steel bars, watching as 2 shadowy figures moved suspiciously near the foundation pit. Tomorrow morning, the detonation point is here. Their fragmented conversation drifted toward us on the wind. A chill shot down my spine. Detonation. They're planning to blow up the site. Willow quickly pulled out her phone to record. But just then, her foot brushed against an empty can, making a crisp metallic sound. Who's there? One of the figures barked. Run. I grabbed Willow's hand and sprinted toward the exit. Shouts and pounding footsteps followed behind us. We darted through the maze-like site, turning corners frantically. The exit was just ahead. Ah! Willow cried out as her ankle twisted and she fell hard to the ground. Willow! I turned back to help her, only to see the 2 figures closing in fast. President Wang, one of them exclaimed in surprise. Well, what a coincidence. It was the foreman from the photo, and beside him stood Makoto's assistant. What are you doing here? I shielded Willow behind me. There are cameras all over this site. Too bad they're all under maintenance tonight. The assistant sneered. The boss was right. You really couldn't resist meddling. The foreman pulled out a gleaming knife. Don't blame us. You brought this on yourselves. My mind raced. Fighting them head-on was suicide. I had to outsmart them. How much did my uncle pay you? I asked suddenly. I'll pay double. The foreman hesitated. Are you serious? Don't listen to him. The assistant snapped. Finish them. Just as the tension reached its breaking point, sirens wailed in the distance. Police. The foreman panicked. Move, the assistant shouted, yanking him away as they fled into the dark. I let out a long breath of relief, then knelt beside Willow. Are you okay? Can you walk? I'm fine. Just twisted it a bit. She tried to stand but winced in pain. I'll carry you, I said, crouching down. No, she refused instantly. Just help me walk. We struggled toward the exit when Willow suddenly tugged at my sleeve. Wait, the detonation point they mentioned, it should be nearby. Let's just get out and call the police. There's no time. Willow stubbornly turned on her phone's flashlight. Look. Following the beam, I saw several suspicious packages placed around the key support beams. Explosives. My throat tightened. They were planning to blow the place up when the workers come in tomorrow. We have to disarm them. Willow limped forward. Are you insane? I pulled her back. We're not bomb experts. We can't just walk away. She shoved my hand aside. If those go off. Before she could finish, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed behind us. My heart lurched. They're back. President Wang. President Lu. It was Lara's voice. Over here, I shouted. Moments later, Lara rushed over with 2 security guards, panting. Thank God, we got an anonymous tip that someone broke into the site. Call the police. Now. I pointed toward the explosives. There are bombs. The scene turned chaotic instantly. Police and bomb disposal units arrived quickly, sealing off the entire construction site. Willow and I, as witnesses, were taken in for questioning. By the time we finished giving our statements, it was already 4 in the morning. Let's get you to the hospital, I said, glancing at Willow's swollen ankle with concern. No need. I'll just ice it at home. You're going, I said firmly. What if it's a fracture? In the end, we went to the emergency room. Thankfully, it was just a sprain. After a bandage and some medicine, we were discharged. By the time we got home, dawn was breaking. I helped Willow onto the sofa and brought her an ice pack and a pillow. Thanks, she said softly, unusually gentle, without her usual sharpness. Hungry? I asked. I can make some noodles. She shook her head, then hesitated. That anonymous call, was that you? Some backup plan? Huh? I blinked. No, I thought it was you. We looked at each other in confusion. Then who was it? Willow frowned. A thought struck me. Could it be Makoto's assistant? He didn't seem eager to actually hurt anyone. Maybe. Willow's gaze drifted as she thought. Or who? Your uncle, she said, locking eyes with me. Maybe he didn't know Makoto planned to blow up the site. I paused for a moment. Whoever it was, tomorrow, or rather, today, is going to be interesting. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, and only then did we realize we'd been up all night. Get some rest, I said, turning toward the guest room. George. Willow's voice stopped me. Thank you for saving me tonight. I turned back. In the morning light, her bare face looked softer than ever. Her eyes were slightly red from exhaustion, yet she was still breathtakingly beautiful. My heart skipped a beat. Of course, I said quietly. If you died, what would this project even mean anymore? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Willow's eyes widened slightly. Her lips parted, but she didn't argue or tease me like she usually did. We simply gazed at each other, the invisible wall between us quietly dissolving in the gentle light of dawn. Get some sleep. Finally, she said softly. We've got a tough fight ahead today. I nodded, but stayed rooted where I was. An impulse rose in me, to step forward and pull her into my arms. 2. A sudden phone ring cut that moment short. It was my dad. Son. His voice was unusually agitated. I just got a call from the police, saying you stopped a construction site explosion. What happened? I glanced at Willow and put the call on speaker. Dad, here's what happened. I told him everything. In detail, last night's events, Makoto and my uncle's plot. There was a long silence on the other end. That bastard, my dad ground his teeth. I suspected he was conspiring with outsiders. Are you and Willow okay? We're fine. Willow just sprained her ankle. Let me speak to her. Willow, a little surprised, took the phone. Uncle Wong. Willow. My dad's voice suddenly softened. Thank you for saving the West City project. From today on, you're my own daughter. If George dares to bully you, I'll break his legs. Willow's eyes welled up. Thank you, Uncle. After we hung up, we exchanged a smile. That night's shared danger seemed to have changed something fundamental between us. That afternoon, despite Willow's still healing ankle, we decided to go to the company to confront Makoto and my uncle. The foreman and the assistant had been detained by police, but the mastermind was still at large. What's the plan? Willow asked in the car. No plan, I admitted honestly. We improvise. She rolled her eyes. Figures I can't rely on you. What does Director Liu suggest? We do it in 2 steps. She held up 2 fingers. First, use the site surveillance footage and the recording on your phone to force them to admit the plot. Second, push a merger plan to win the board's support and boot your uncle out. I blinked. When did you record it? When Makoto called. She grinned slyly. Basic tradecraft for corporate espionage. What a terrifying woman. I shook my head. But I like it. The words slipped out, and the car fell suddenly quiet. I stole a nervous glance at Willow and saw her ears tint pink. She pretended to look out the window. We're here. The driver broke the silence. The company lobby was chaotic. Stepping out of the elevator, we could hear a heated argument coming from the conference room. We pushed the door open to find Makoto and my uncle standing before the projection screen, faces ashen. Across from them sat board members, and my dad, who had actually come in person. Dad, I called in surprise. Son. Willow. My dad strode over and hugged us both. Thank God you're okay. Makoto looked like he'd swallowed a fly. Chairman Wong. This is a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding, I sneered, pulling out my phone. I played the recording. Listen to this so-called misunderstanding. The recording clearly replayed Makoto's threats. My uncle's face grew darker with every word. Forged, he barked. You framed me. Then what about this? Willow opened her laptop and played the footage from last night's construction site. Your partner setting up explosives. The room erupted in shock. Old Wong. One of the board members slammed the table. You conspired with an outsider to destroy your own company. All just to push me off the board, even if it meant hurting people, my dad said, voice trembling with fury. Do you even have a conscience? My uncle's face went ashen. Then he suddenly pointed at Makoto. It was him. All his idea. He said once the project collapsed, George would lose influence, and I could. Shut up, Makoto shouted, then turned toward Willow, his tone suddenly soft. Willow, I can explain. No need. Willow's voice was cold. The police are already downstairs waiting for you. Almost on cue, sirens wailed from the street below. Makoto and my uncle turned pale as security escorted them out of the conference room. The board immediately convened an emergency session. Willow and I presented the latest merger proposal and revealed the old photos, explaining the truth behind the feud between the 2 families. So, my dad summarized, this 30-year grudge was all a misunderstanding. Yes, Willow nodded. My grandfather never meant to break the contract. Fate is cruel, my dad sighed, then suddenly clapped his hands. Then it's settled. The Wong and Liu corporations will merge part of their operations and jointly develop the West City project. After the meeting, my dad called Willow and me into his office. You two I've known about your fake marriage all along. We both froze. But, he added with a grin, after all this, I think you two are actually a good match. Maybe consider making it official. Dad, I groaned, mortified. Willow turned crimson, her head down as she fidgeted with her fingers. All right, I'll stop teasing. My dad laughed heartily. Dinner at home tonight. Your mom misses Willow like crazy. When we stepped out of his office, both of us let out a long sigh of relief. I scratched my head. My dad just likes to talk nonsense. Willow nodded, voice barely above a whisper. After a moment of awkward silence, she murmured, Tonight, we're really going to your house for dinner. If you don't want to, we can skip. That's not what I mean. She bit her lip. I mean, maybe we should bring some of your things back afterward. You can't keep wearing the same few shirts. It took me 2 full seconds to process that she was inviting me to officially move into the master bedroom. Sure, I grinned, but I have a lot of stuff. Don't push your luck. She shot me a glare, but the corner of her lips curved upward. That evening, my parents welcomed Willow warmly. After 2 glasses of wine, her cheeks turned rosy, and she was chattier than usual, laughing easily. Her usual sharpness softened. On the way home, she leaned against the car window, drowsy. When the light turned red, her head began to nod, and finally rested on my shoulder. I adjusted slightly so she could lean more comfortably, then couldn't resist pressing a light kiss to the top of her head. She mumbled sleepily, lifting her gaze. Nothing. I said softly, sleep. I'll wake you when we're home. She murmured an okay and nestled against me again. In that quiet moment, with the city lights flickering outside and her warmth against my side, I realized something simple yet profound. Happiness could be this easy. Chapter 7, From Pretend to Real. 2 weeks after the West City project crisis, our lives took on a strange new rhythm. First, there was work. The Wang and Lu corporations officially merged part of their operations to form Wang-Lu United, co-managed by Willow and me. The board passed it unanimously. Even the most stubborn old fossils voted yes. Then, there was family. My dad and Mr. Lu had somehow become the best of buddies overnight. Every week, it was golf, whiskey, and nostalgic stories about their youth, completely forgetting they once wanted to strangle each other. And finally, there was us. George, you left your socks on the floor again. Willow's voice thundered from the master bedroom. Oops, my bad. I rushed in and grabbed the 2 culprits, slipped out of my hand. Ever since I'd officially upgraded to the master bedroom, small clashes like this had become routine. Her obsession with cleanliness and my carefree lifestyle were like fire and gasoline, ready to explode anytime. Do it again. And you're sleeping on the couch, she warned, glaring at me before turning back to the mirror to apply lipstick. I tiptoed up behind her and suddenly wrapped my arms around her waist. You look stunning today, wife. Cut it out. She elbowed me lightly. It was more of a tickle than a shove. Don't forget the meeting with Hang Long this morning. Wouldn't dream of it. I kissed her neck sneakily. Though are you sure that skirt isn't a little too short? She turned with a teasing smile. Is President Wang getting jealous? Of course not. I protested. I just think it's not very professional. Oh really? She drew out the words, stepping closer. And that PR director who couldn't stop touching your arm at the last cocktail party, was she professional? A cold sweat broke out on my back. I should go prep for the meeting. I fled the room, exhaling in relief. This woman was learning exactly how to play me. The morning meeting went smoothly. Hang Long's executives were impressed by our merger plan and signed a preliminary agreement on the spot. Afterward, Willow was surrounded by clients asking questions, while their CEO pulled me aside to chat about golf. President Wang and Miss Lu really are a match made in heaven. He laughed, patting my shoulder. One dares to dream, the other makes it happen. No wonder your project's flying. I looked across the room. Willow was explaining something to a client, her fingers gliding quickly across her tablet. The sunlight outlined her profile in a golden glow. Yeah, I murmured. A perfect match. Back at the office after lunch, Lara intercepted me with a mysterious grin. President Wang, Miss Lu's birthday is next week. What are you planning? I froze. Right, October 18th, Willow's birthday. With everything going on, I'd almost forgotten. I haven't decided yet, I said quietly. Got any ideas? Lara's eyes lit up. She loves the seaside. 2 years ago, she went to Qingdao alone just to watch the sunrise. I nodded slowly. Maybe it was time. That afternoon, I slipped out under the excuse of meeting a client and made an important call. Dad, I said, standing outside a jewelry store, phone in hand. I want to officially propose to Willow. There was a pause. Didn't you two already get married? That's different, I said, exasperated. It was a business deal back then. Now well, you know what I mean. My dad burst out laughing. Good boy, finally getting it. What do you need? I want Grandma's ring, already prepared, he said proudly. It's hidden in my study, inside War and Peace. The code's 0721, your birthday. My nose stung unexpectedly. So, my dad had seen this day coming all along. After retrieving the ring, I went straight to the travel agency and booked everything, plane tickets and a seaside hotel in Qingdao for next weekend. Private beach, ocean view, the works. Everything was perfectly set, except for one thing. Fate, as always, loved to mess with me. The day before our trip, Willow suddenly came down with a fever. 38.5 degrees. I stared at the thermometer, panicking. There's no way we can go tomorrow. Curled up in bed, her cheeks flushed red, Willow whispered weakly, "Sorry. I ruined your plan. Silly girl. What's there to apologize for?" I brushed her burning forehead. "I'll reschedule the flight." And no, she caught my hand. "Actually, I have something for you." She pointed toward the top shelf of the bookcase. I reached up and took down a delicate box. When I opened it, I froze. Inside were dozens of chocolate wrappers, each neatly flattened and preserved. On top, one had a tiny note pinned to it, "For the most annoying person. These are the ones I gave you in high school." Willow nodded faintly. They weren't that bad, actually. My chest tightened, a warmth rising that I couldn't contain. As I lifted the wrappers, I found a small diary underneath. I looked at Willow questioningly, but she panicked, trying to snatch it back. "You can't read that." Too late. I'd already opened to the first page. October 18, 2009. Got an anonymous box of chocolates today. Tastes awful, but the wrapping's nice, keeping it as a bookmark. October 18, 2010. That idiot sent chocolates again. This time he even added a card, "For the most annoying person." His handwriting is terrible, but how did he know my birthday? The more I turned the pages, the harder my heart pounded. All those years I thought my secret crush was one-sided. All those teasing, challenging words that had really been her way of caring were written down right there. June 5, 2012. George, that jerk, beat me in the speech contest today, but when he stood on stage, he looked kind of cool. September 1, 2015. First day of college. Heard he got into a school in Shanghai. Maybe it's better this way. I won't have to see him again, right? October 18, 2018. Third year without getting those awful chocolates. Feels strange. The last entry was recent. He said, "If you died, what would this project mean to me?" That idiot, doesn't he know you can't just say things like that? I closed the diary, my hands trembling slightly. Willow had pulled the blanket over her head, hiding like an ostrich. "Willow," I gently tugged the blanket down, revealing her red, puffy eyes. "Don't you dare laugh at me," she muttered into the pillow. "Laugh? I wouldn't dare." I cupped her face softly. "So, you've liked me all along?" "Huh? I have not." She shot back instantly. "I just have a habit of journaling things." "Oh, journaling how much you hate me," I teased. "Exactly," she glared, her voice muffled but trembling. "I really hate you." I couldn't help it. I kissed her. This stubborn woman could turn even a confession into an argument. Because of her fever, our Qingdao trip was postponed for a week. By the time Willow had fully recovered, it was late November, and the seaside wind was cold enough to freeze your ears off. "Are you sure you want to watch the sunrise?" I shivered inside my down jacket. "It's 5 degrees below zero, you maniac." But Willow was beaming, hopping across the sand like a kid. "It's beautiful." In the soft dawn light, her smile outshone the rising sun itself. My hand brushed the ring box hidden in my pocket, and my heartbeat stumbled. "George." She suddenly turned to me. "I have something to tell you." "What a coincidence," I said, taking a breath. "So do I." "Ladies first." Willow bit her lip and took out a small velvet box from her purse. My eyes widened. "No way. I know we're already married in the legal sense," she said softly, her voice as light as the sea breeze. "But I want." "Wait." I cut her off, dropping to one knee on the sand and pulling out my own ring box. "Willow, will you officially marry me? Not for business, not for family ties, just because I love you." Willow froze for a second, then burst out laughing. She knelt down too, opening her box to reveal a man's ring. "George, will you officially marry me? Not for family reconciliation, not for strategy, just because I love you." We knelt in the golden morning light, sliding the rings onto each other's fingers before breaking into helpless laughter. "This is so stupid," Willow said, wiping her eyes. "Who proposes to each other at the same time? We're just unconventional." I grinned, pulling her into my arms. "So when did you prepare the ring?" "Last week." She arched a proud eyebrow. "I beat you to it." "No way. I bought mine 2 weeks ago." Then I realized she was bluffing. "Oh, you little." I lunged, tickling her sides. "Can't stop playing spy games, huh?" Willow giggled uncontrollably, twisting and trying to escape, until we both collapsed onto the sand. She lay on my chest, her hair falling over my face, carrying that faint jasmine scent that always undid me. "George," she said suddenly, her voice quieter, more serious. "If there hadn't been that business marriage in the first place, would you have pursued me?" "Of course," I said without hesitation. "I wanted to since high school, but I was afraid you'd kill me." She laughed softly. At least you know yourself. And you. If there hadn't been that family feud. Willow went silent for a moment, then whispered, maybe I would've, if you weren't so annoying. I rolled over, pinning her beneath me. And now, still think I'm annoying? She kissed me in answer. On the flight home, Willow fell asleep on my shoulder. I gently ran my thumb over the ring on her finger, my heart overflowing with disbelief. A year ago, we could barely stand each other. And now, what's that smile for? She murmured drowsily. Nothing, I said, kissing her forehead. Just thinking how strange fate can be. Willow smiled faintly, snuggling closer against my chest. Yeah, she whispered. Strange and wonderful. The wedding was set for New Year's Day. As my dad put it, new year, new beginnings, double the happiness. Planning it was somehow more complicated than merging two corporations. We argued 3 times just over the guest list before Willow and I finally surrendered all decision-making power to our mothers, who, as it turned out, were even more competitive than we were. Your elder brother is not invited, Mrs. Liu insisted firmly. He insulted Willow years ago. Then your cousin can stay home too, my mom fired back. He tried to trip George up during the board vote. In the end, both fathers had to step in to mediate, and a truce was barely reached. The night before the wedding, tradition dictated that we stay apart. Back at my parents' house, I found my grandfather waiting for me in the study. Boy, he said, handing me an old envelope. Give this to old Lou tomorrow. I opened it. It was a yellowed land deed, the very one that had started the feud between our families. Grandpa. It was his from the start. He sighed heavily. We spent a lifetime fighting. What a waste. My throat tightened. I hugged the stubborn old man, feeling tears sting my eyes. The wedding day dawned bright and clear. Standing on the stage, I watched Willow walk down the aisle on her father's arm, and for a moment, the world stopped. She wore a simple satin gown, her hair elegantly pinned up, beauty radiant and effortless. When it came time to exchange rings, I took out Grandpa's envelope and handed it to Mr. Liu's father. The 2 old men locked eyes, and then, after decades of silence, they embraced, both crying openly. We wasted too much time, my grandfather choked out. There wasn't a dry eye in the hall. Willow sniffed and pinched me lightly. Your fault, she whispered. My makeup's ruined. At the reception, Willow and I shared our first dance. She leaned close to my ear and whispered, I've liked you for a long time. I was just too scared to admit it. I know, I said, pulling her closer because I was, too. Married life turned out better than I'd imagined. We worked together, went home together, sometimes argued over chores, and made up just as fast. Willow was still sharp-tongued, and I was still shameless. But something had quietly shifted. When she called me an idiot, there was laughter in her eyes. When I teased her relentlessly, there was affection behind it. The West City project was completed on schedule, becoming the city's new landmark. At the ribbon cutting, a reporter asked us the secret to our success. Balance. Willow answered professionally. She makes the money, I spend it, I added, earning a sharp elbow to the ribs. That night, back home, Willow suddenly asked, what if I'd never agreed to that fake marriage in the first place? Then I'd just keep pining after you, I said, wrapping my arms around her from behind. I've been doing it for 10 years already. She turned to face me, eyes glimmering. George, how much time did we waste? It doesn't matter, I whispered, kissing the tip of her nose. We have the rest of our lives. Outside, the first snow of the new year drifted gently down, and inside, it was as warm as spring.